Hey there, it's Jeff Luther, and you are diving into the podcast for the Service Business Blueprint. This is where I walk with you and help you unlock the secrets to building a thriving service-based business. We talk about everything from starting out to setting milestones in your company you didn't even know would exist. We'll cover entrepreneurship, personal growth, mindset, everything you need for success in your service-based business. You ready to build that blueprint? All right, I'm gonna jump right in. You cool?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, welcome back to the Service Business Blueprint, where we share tools, tips, and strategies to achieve your personal and business goals and overcome mindset obstacles. I'm your host, Jeff Luther. Today's episode, we're going to work twofold. First, we're gonna talk to a CrossFit athlete who's consistently in the top 400 athletes in the world, and that's out of almost 200,000. And I want to talk more about that number. So I also want to talk a little bit about discipline, perseverance, and doing what it takes. Then I want to bring it back down to a normal people level. And I want to talk about what we can do as busy entrepreneurs to stay in shape. And lastly, we'll talk about coaching and how hiring a coach in any discipline can be helpful. So we'll kind of jump right in. This is Daniel Sterling. Here's some accolades for Daniel. Um, 3 appearances in Crash Crucible. And how many, Daniel, is that invitation only for Crash Crucible?
The first year it wasn't. The next 2 years it was invitation or you had to make it through a qualifier.
Okay. So like a lot of the bigger events, you have to qualify, and in some instances
Right,
get invited.
right.
Syndicate Crown 2022, which is, it's the semifinals for the CrossFit Games. I was there to see that show. It was pretty amazing. Fittest of South Carolina 2018. 2019 winner, fittest of the upstate, and that was elite male. 2018 Granite Games semifinalist. Pretty impressive. I said earlier, you're in the top 400 of over 200,000 athletes, but that's only elite male athletes. So that number is way, way bigger. When we talk about the world and how many athletes actually compete in the open, do you have any idea what that number is?
No, I'd say that's it. It's the opposite. The risk of making me not sound as good, which I always appreciate. It would be no 200,000. It'd be like top 400 out of 200,000. Like that would be everybody. I don't think there's a way that you could classify elite or not elite.
How you can break it down. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Like out of 200,000 men worldwide, it'd be like in the top 400.
okay. I got it. All right. So now I just want to ask a couple things for fun, and then we'll get to serious business. All right. How much do you weigh?
Like 195.
And tell our audience what your heaviest snatch is.
Uh, 285. Still chasing the 300 demon, but 285.
That is amazing. I love that. Um, and your front squat.
405.
That's crazy. Thank you. Um, well, look, no one talks about this, but I would argue, and nobody, a lot of folks don't want to have a conversation around CrossFit, but some of the stuff is just so interesting to me. I would argue that CrossFit is a strength sport, and then it's an endurance sport. I think you have to have the strength before you can even begin to start the endurance piece and be competitive in CrossFit. You agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that that's definitely the hardest thing to get, right? Like endurance is something that you can spend 6 months on, like really disciplined 6 months, and you can get pretty good at that, right? You can go from you're not going to go from a 10-minute mile to a 5-minute mile, but you can make big gains
Yeah.
endurance wise in 6 months, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But strength is like just a different story. Like you're not going to go from a 100-pound deadlift to a 500-pound deadlift in 6 months. It's just not going to happen. Like it's going to take years for you to build that. So I'd say that it's definitely a strength bias sport that you have to have like a minimum work requirement of strength if you want to be able to compete with the best of the best. Otherwise, you're just not gonna. You're just kind of wasting your time.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Yeah, it's just. I
Um,
mean, well, you're just not gonna make any. You're never gonna make like a top 10 or a podium, or you're never gonna do any of that if you place like consistently last on the strength workout, whatever that is, because like all these competitions they have, it's going to be some sort of 1 rep max deadlift or some sort of 1 rep max clean or whatever it might be, right? If
right.
you're always placing last on that, then you just don't have a chance. Like now, if you want to do well at whatever level, whether that's like a local comp level or whether that's like a bigger stage, like a semifinal or a games type thing, that you just have to have consistent like top 10 finishes across the board. You just can't do it anymore with having huge holes like that.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, and by the way, I was watching that your last Crash Crucible. I was watching it live, and the announcers there said that you're one of the top 100 athletes in the world to watch in the CrossFit Games. Do you know that?
Uh that was a projected, that's like it's like a power rankings type deal. I was put on the power rankings. I unfortunately did not end up in that as an actual rankings thing. That's like me saying I think Clemson's number one right now, football team, and then they end up placing 10th in the standings. Like, I wanted them to be number one, and they had the ability to do it, but they just didn't. So I would say it was similar to that. I was power ranked to be in the top 100. Didn't happen.
Well, they're using a snapshot in time, right? So you impress somebody. But
Right.
how old are you, Daniel?
23. I'm getting up there, Jeff. I'm catching you.
You got a long way to go, my friend. I'd have to stop for quite a while.
I, I don't know.
All right, so let's draw a little bit of a parallel here. Now, so I've been an entrepreneur. I've owned my own business for a little over 20 years, 22 years. And being an entrepreneur, it's lonely. I say it's lonely sometimes, but it's lonely most of the time. You're
Yep.
on your own little island. You're not accountable to anyone. You have to have self-discipline. You have to hold yourself accountable. And I see that with you. You're doing a lot of these workouts, doing a lot of your training on your own. How do you stay disciplined?
Um, I think it's you know, you're either gonna do it or you're not. Like, and I'm not someone that's gonna kind of do something. Like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it and do it the way you're supposed to do it. I heard a Kobe Bryant quote, and it was about him going into a summer that he like didn't make a team or was benched for a team, like in his high school, college, in that whole frame. And he said that he told himself what he wanted to do and what he wanted to achieve over the summer. And he said that no matter what throughout that summer, he wasn't going to waver from that, because the beginning of the summer, the contract with himself was signed, and he like just had to get it done. Like, that's, if you want to do what you say you want to do, you just got to get it done. And so I'd say that's probably the answer, is to, you're asking, how do you stay focused? How do you stay disciplined? It's not a negotiable thing. It's not like, oh, I might do this today or I might do this today. It's like, no, I'm going to get today done what I need to do today, and I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow and same thing the day after that.
Yeah, I guess one of the differences I see in business, you have benchmarks, right? You have your measuring stick. You can look at your sales, you can look at your profit, you can look at your volume. How do you measure your progress? You're by yourself. I guess you do it maybe competitions, or how do you do it incrementally?
Um, I think that answer changes as you get older in the sport. Like, for example, if I had just started out yesterday, then I might measure that more by PRs. So you might measure that by like, okay, well, I did a 1K row in 3 minutes 6 months ago, and I did it in 2 minutes 58 seconds this month, right? So we've seen progress there. Everything in
Yeah.
CrossFit is you should be able to repeat it, and if you're doing it right, then it should be better the next time you do it. If you're not, then you need to rethink your programming and maybe your sleep, maybe your nutrition, whatever it is. I'd say now where I am, it's not as much any specific things that I'm looking for, more so like I'm looking to be able to do specific things in workouts. So like, I want to be able to do 10 unbroken ring muscle ups anytime there's 10 ring muscle ups in a workout. I want to be able to do like, handstand push-ups and whatever sets they may be with like no more than 3 to 5 seconds break. So it's more like, for me, it's little things that I try and focus on now more so than maybe earlier in my career where you're focusing more on PRs and stuff.
Yeah. Um, so people talk about risk as an entrepreneur. Like a lot of people, they tell me, oh my gosh, yeah, I could never do that because I don't want to take that risk. Or I would love to do this, but I'm scared to take the risk. Risk has never been the issue for me. Yeah, I like risk. I think it's fun. I think that's part of the allure of being an entrepreneur, but the risk is not the issue. It's the issue that you have to do shitloads and shitloads and shitloads of work as an entrepreneur, and you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. CrossFit, this sport of CrossFit seems very much the same to me, where you're doing all of this work and you really don't know what the outcome is going to be because you don't know what the floor looks like when you show up to an event. Does that sound accurate? Is that a parallel?
I think that's a fair parallel. I think that the longer that I've been, and I guess I've been, let's see, I've been competing for almost a decade. So I think the specific time frame would be 7 to 8 years, right? It's somewhere in that like 7.5, 8 years, whatever it is. And the thing that I've noticed more than anything else is that time, it's similar to a Wall Street quote that you told me one time, which is time in the market beats timing the market, right? And it's for CrossFit specifically, it's like the more that you spend time working on it and the more that you spend time doing the things that you're bad at and the more that you spend time just grinding every day, like the higher chance of success you're going to have. And I think that applies with, business as well. I think that the longer that you're actively working at that thing and you're actively, whether it's, it doesn't have to be giant progress, but if you're seeing little wins, little wins, little wins, then eventually that stacks up. And so it's not as, I think risk is an interesting word to use because I think it's only risky if you're not willing to do what it takes, you know?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
guess
know. Does
so.
that,
Yeah, I can go along with that. Yeah, I see that.
it's kind of
Uh,
or go ahead.
no, please.
I see what you mean. Like it's risky. Well, I don't, I've never seen it as like a risk because there's just no other like you just got to do what you set out to do. There's no, like, if you, for example, were telling me, hey, Daniel, I want to start a solar company and I want to sell solar, right? And I want to make that my full-time source of income. Okay, cool. Like it's only risky if you don't succeed. And if you're not like, the only way you don't succeed is if you like don't do what you need to do to be successful, whether that's like learning how to sell shit door to door, whether that's like, learning how to um, work with the people that build the solar panel. I don't know about freaking solar. Like, I don't know, but you get what I mean, right? Like
Yeah.
same thing with CrossFit. Like, hey, it's only risky if, if Jeff wants to compete at the CrossFit games and he can't back squat 450 plus pounds, like, okay, you need to keep working at that until you do. Now, if you're sitting over here running and doing all this other bullshit, like crap stuff, then yeah. So it's like, I think risk is an interesting word that
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd associate it with because I think that it's only risky if you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Risky is like, oh,
So you're just
risky is like,
like you do the work. Your approach is you'll never be outworked. I guess that's in your mind. I will never be outworked. I might not win today, but you'll never outwork me. There's no risk because I will always do the work. I guess that's your outlook.
well, I think I view risk as going to the casino, putting it all on red 13 and just hoping for the best. Right? That's risk to me. you're risking your money. You've got no control over the outcome,
Yeah.
and you're just hoping that it hits. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, you're fucked. You're screwed. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
Um, but I don't think that something like business or like this, for example, I don't view that necessarily as risk because, injuries are going to happen and family and life things are going to happen and job things are going to happen. But at the end of the day, like as long as you keep the main thing, then it's really hard for me to consider it risky because again, nobody, you are in control of your like master of your fate, captain of your soul. Like
Yeah.
it's not gonna, you're, it's not a risky thing. Like
There's
I think it's an
yeah, I mean,
adjustment word.
I love your perspective. And it's like what are you talking about? There is no risk. There's only risk when there's no control, and I control my destiny. Period.
Right. Yeah. I don't, that's why I don't know if yeah,
Yeah,
risk is a,
so I'm asking the question from a mere mortal's perspective. And you're like, there's no
yeah,
risk because I control this
no,
shit.
no, I don't think that's like a mortal or immortal thing. I think that's a one thing that I love so much about CrossFit that it's taught me that I never would have learned anywhere else is that everything is infinitely scalable. We use that word a lot in the CrossFit gyms, whether that's with clients, whether that's with
Yeah.
whatever it is, infinitely scalable. I love that word so much. I guess it's a phrase because it carries over to everything,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to want to go into business creating $1 billion Jeff Bezos Amazon empire, right? You can go into it with the mindset of like, okay, you know what? I just want to sell like I just want to sell $20 worth of homemade bracelets every single month, and that's going to cover my gym expense. Like it can be whatever it is. You can be 5 years old, or you could be 50 years old. Like it's. I think that is infinitely scalable. Now, if you're being too ambitious with your goal setting, then that's a different story. Like that's an entire thing differently. Like it's unrealistic for me to say, hey, next month I want to sell $100 billion worth of coaching. That's a little unrealistic, right? Like that's not risky. That's just negligence. But I think that there's no risk in things as long as you're setting the right goals and you're going in with the right intentions and you have the like drive to do it, then I don't think that really business or um this CrossFit thing, I don't see it as like a risky thing because you're in control of it like 99% of the time.
Got it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, yes, I think you're right. Yeah. Um, so I have a question about nutrition. Now, you're an elite athlete, right? Like you're operating at a level that clearly the rest of the world is not operating at. So just from a general perspective, um, what would you suggest to the busy professional? What did I say? Did I say nutrition or did I say fitness?
You said nutrition. Yeah, you said
Okay, well, I'm
nutrition.
asking about fitness, like the mere mortal fitness, not fitness from a 405-pound front squat and a sub 6 mile. I mean, fitness from, hey, if I can run an 8-minute mile and I can do a back squat, then I'm in good shape. That kind of, that kind of fitness.
Right. Right.
What would you suggest to a busy professional? They want to stay fit, they want to stay in shape, right? But they have limited time. Like, what would be the optimum hours in a week if they wanted to maintain their fitness? How many hours in a week would you say, hey, you need to move your body intentionally X number of hours a week?
Um, someone that wants to get in shape or someone that's in shape and trying to stay in shape.
Trying not to get out of shape, whatever shape
Trying
may
not.
look like to them, trying to at least maintain or improve their physical fitness over a span of time.
I would say 4 to 5 hours a week of very intentional work. Um, and yeah, 4 to 5 hours a week. I would say you could get away with 3 depending on what your external factors look like. You know, if
Yeah.
you're like a warehouse worker and you're walking around all day, moving furniture, all that stuff, then you'd definitely be able to get away with like 3 days a week of just some excess strength training, things like that, or some excess conditioning.
Yeah.
If you're someone like an IT specialist and you sit down at a computer all day and you're blah, 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 typing stuff away and you average like 2,000 steps a day, maybe, then you're probably going to want to be closer to like the 5 range.
Okay. Um, and then nutrition. I've watched you with nutrition. I know you've weighed your food. I've seen the way that all of you folks are really conscious of what you put in your body. So someone that like they say, hey, you know, I'm getting older. I can't keep weight off. I don't really want to get in the gym every day. I don't want to give up wine. I don't want to give up chocolate. I don't, you know, what would you suggest to them is, hey, all right, so you're not going to stop living. You know, you don't have to
Right.
operate at a elite level like I do, but this is what I would suggest you kind of focus on in your diet. If you're not willing to give up wine, you're not willing to give up Twinkies or whatever it is, what would you suggest to them as a general guideline focusing on with their diet?
Well, I would say my real advice would be you need to hire someone who knows what you're talking about and have them guide you through your specific journey, whatever that may look like. Because a lot of people have a lot of really different relationships with food. You know,
Yep.
some
Yeah.
people are, you know, I'm trying to think of a way to be as inclusive as I can. Some people are very indulgent and they have some control issues they need to work on when it comes to
Let me get
self-control and
something
food.
out of the way real quick. I'll get this out of the way for you and for everybody else. I have people that come to me and say, I mean, people that are overweight, obese, whatever you want to call it. And they say, you know, I want to lose weight. I want to work out. I just don't know how. Well, yeah, you do. Quit putting shit in your mouth and move your body more. That's it. It's simple. So now you feel better. You can speak freely.
I mean, yes and no. I don't think it's I don't believe it's in some cases, if you're 300, if you're walking around 300 pounds and you sit around all day and you're eating McDonald's and Hardee's and the new Baconator from Wendy's and you're not getting any exercise, all this stuff, like, yeah, you're being a fat piece of crap. You need to get yourself off the couch and you need to stop eating all this shit, right? Like, that's kind of an obvious one. The gray area is everybody else. And I'd say a majority of people, whether you're like a mom who's gone through 3 pregnancies and you're like self-conscious about your body because you've got stretch marks places and you had a C-section and things like that's where it's a little bit more of a delicate situation where I'd say you need to find someone that's going to not recommend that you just starve yourself. So it's nutrition's a real complicated thing. The general rule of thumb I tell people is prioritize protein, try to not have any sort of like high added sugar foods, so like Skittles or like Pop Tart, like all those things would be like heavy in added sugars. Um, so trying to keep it relatively clean. You know, you can have like if you have a Hershey's Kiss on, you know, Wednesday night or whatever it is, like that's fine. Like everything, and the word moderation gets thrown a lot around a lot, and that's probably because it's a good word. You know, if you have a glass of wine Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're gonna be fine. Like that's not the reason that you're out of shape and that you're not aesthetically looking the way that you want to look. If you're having 4 glasses of wine Monday through Sunday, okay, now we've maybe got more of an issue that we need to address. Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's very dependent on the individual, but I'd say if you can have lean protein at every single meal, when I say lean protein, I mean chicken, I mean like a lean cut of steak, I mean like uh, a good pork chop would do, like fish, like a tuna or something would be good. Salmon's pretty fatty, but anything like that, like that's a pretty good starting block. If you're doing that and you're still not seeing the progress you want, then I would say you need to reach out to someone Daniel.Sterling2533 on Instagram, and have them help you,
Yeah.
um, have them help you
Yeah.
figure out what's going on. Did you like that?
Yeah, that was perfect. That's great. So yeah, that
Uh,
brings up another question. When you say you're not seeing the progress that you want, part of it, in my experience, I mean, even watching how I talk to my kids, how I'm raising my children, is I have this expectation when I talk to them about one thing, I expect that change in their life right then, and it doesn't happen. I'm watching
right.
my kids are three different ages. They're 15, 17, 19. So now I'm watching the 19-year-old is finally starting to pick stuff up that I've been putting down for the last 10 years. And
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
the same thing applies with not only with just weight loss, but people that want to improve their physical fitness, people that want their body to look better, people that want to be stronger. Me, I'm a great example. I want to lift heavier, not tomorrow, today.
Right.
So what would you say to someone, hey, I want to lose weight. I've done these things. I've been doing, I haven't had wine for a week. I mean,
A
what,
week.
yeah, I mean, how do you coach people through that? It's that immediate gratification. How can you get in their corner when you know they want that immediate response?
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes down to communication between the coach and the athlete. Like they need to understand that, if a week is not going to erase a year or 2 years or 5 years of bad habits, right? 7 days isn't going to cut it, like, so that's step one, is like making them realize that, hey, if you're looking for a Ozempic, 30-day fix that's going to get you everything you want, then you like, for me personally, like I'm not going to be the guy to help you with that. Like I'm going to help you get the results that you want. It's going to take some time. And just like everything should, it's going to take time. Like it's going to be difficult. It's going to take probably longer than you want.
Yeah.
But, that's why it goes back to what we talked about 5-10 minutes ago, is like, you've got to find small wins, and you just got to like start stacking on those, right? It's not going to be, oh, I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. If you did, then that's probably really unhealthy, and something's going wrong,
Oh,
unless
yeah.
it's like a special situation where I've had athletes who are like, 300 plus pounds, stuff like that. Like they're going to lose weight at a much more rapid rate than someone who's like your size. Like if you, Jeff, lose 30 pounds in 30 days, you've got a big fucking problem.
Yeah,
Like
we got
you've got a
problems.
big
Yeah.
problem, dude. That's like a third of your body weight. So
I don't think that was very nice.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't. At
Um,
least it's at least a quarter.
all right, so let's do this then. Let's say uh that somebody comes to you, just a casual conversation,
Right.
and they're starting on the very ground floor. Hey, look, I want to get in shape. I want to take care of my body. I'm not at a point where I would feel comfortable going to a gym. And we know that happens, right?
Right.
I'm not at a point where I would feel comfortable going to a gym. I'm not at a stage where I want to invest in coaching. I just want to start small and start making improvements and build up to coaching. What would you suggest to them? If let's say they're, like 280 pounds, 280-pound male, 5'9", and uh, it's not muscle.
Right.
They say, "Hey, I want to start this journey." What would you suggest to them? What would be the one exercise they could do at home with limited equipment?
Jeff, this is why I love you. You're trying to beat me over the head to get me to give you like this answer, like this golden bullet answer, and it's just, I can't do it. Um, like my response to that genuinely would be, you don't go and not take guitar lessons until you're Slash,
Yeah,
right? Like everybody starts out and they're not Slash. Like I get it. It's difficult. You're not where you want to be. It's you're being asked to be in a very vulnerable place slash state, right? I am asking you to be very vulnerable. I'm asking you to work very hard. And in all honesty, if you are hiring a coach, you probably don't know them like very, very well, right? Maybe it's
Yeah.
someone like you, like that I happen to know you very well. And so you asking me is different, but most times it's not like that. I'm like, it's a big ask. It's a big thing. But again, you don't you don't start day one. If you started where you wanted to be, then you wouldn't have to hire anybody in the first place, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And so you know, the I'm not ready, or like I'm not there yet, or I'm not where I want to be to start. That excuse just doesn't hold any validity for me, because it's like, well, of course you're not. That's why you're looking at wanting to get better. You don't know how to get better, so you need some help. That's what hiring a coach, and that's what like finding someone to help you with that
Yeah.
is for. Is so that you can know how to get better. It's so that you can. If I went around and I told if I like went around and could tell everybody, here's what you do, you don't need me at all, like, then I like, not only would I be out of a job, but nobody would be in a problem in the first place, you know. But everybody's
Yeah, but I
problems are
think
different.
just yeah, I disagree with you because I think just as a general, hey, start walking. Walk 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Then come see me in 4 weeks because you're going to feel better. You'll want to improve.
You will, yeah, for sure. And then, okay, I would agree with that 100%. That yes, that's something that you could say very easily. Like, hey, you know, I would buy you a Fitbit that tracks your steps and see how many steps you're walking, probably double that. So if you're at 2,000 steps, try and get to 4 or 5,000 steps. And
Yeah.
I guarantee you'll see a difference there. Now there's a
And
cutoff with
start
that. If
start
you're
that
already
process, right?
right, like, and see
Um,
that, you know, that's a great one right there. I would say that's probably better than, you know, you ask for a movement. I think walking is probably the most undervalued and underused movement. A lot of people try to get into complex things too much. They're like, oh, I'm going to start doing rower intervals, or I'm going to buy myself a squat rack and I'm going to start
yeah.
squat. Like, no, if you just walk for
Yeah, so
45
so
minutes a
start
day,
simple
then
is what you're telling us, right?
yeah, start simple. I can settle with
Um,
that answer.
all right, so most of our audience, I mean, it's either folks, it's either entrepreneurs or it's business owners. Uh, so people that own a business as well as work in the business. So it's a lot of time, and I know a lot of people are listening, thinking, yeah, well, if I had 8 or 10 hours I could spend in a gym a day where all I had to do was work out, I might have the same results that Daniel has. I might look like Daniel, right? Um, but what they don't know is you're also an entrepreneur. You've got your own coaching business. How long you been doing that?
Mm, I've been coaching in the CrossFit space for, again, right about that 8+ years range. So I've been
Yeah.
competing for a little less than that, but I've been coaching for longer. So about 8 to 9 years I've been coaching.
Yeah. So that's a
I've
ton of
owned,
experience.
right. I've owned, well, I mean, compared to your business being open for 22 years, you're making me look real bad over here, Jeff, but
Nah, dude,
I
coaching's
feel
way
pretty good
different
about
than
it.
working.
Um, and I've owned my own business for just about a year, coming up on just about a year.
Okay. Well, you seem to be knocking it out of the park. Um, so coaching, like for me, I've always used a coach. I mean, I've used a coach for everything. There's always someone that can do it better, that can see my faults. For example, I mean, I don't even remember what I've gained by going through your program. I mean, it's the gains I've had have been amazing. My fitness, my confidence, my lifts, all that stuff. Um, and then coaching for business, I had a dating coach for a little while when I got back into the dating world. I mean, there's a coach for everything, right? So tell me this. This might be a little bit difficult to answer, but if somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey, I'm considering working with you. What's the top thing? What's the top thing I'm gonna get by hiring Sterling Fitness?"
Whew. Yeah, that's kind of a tough one to answer. I have a lot of different clients that have a lot of different goals and have a lot of different backgrounds.
You want me to give you you want me to help you?
Yeah, you're gonna have to help me on this one
So I'll say,
because it's just different it's just different on the person. If like
but
I'm not
I think
gonna
everybody has this in common.
right.
Accountability. I'm going to get you'll get accountability hiring me. I'm going to hold you accountable. You tell me a goal that you want. You've done that. I've
I
seen
see
you
the
do that with people. I've watched you.
I see the question that you're asking now. I thought you meant like I'm gonna give everybody a 5 minute mile. That's where my mind
Oh,
went, and I was like, I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. Some people can't run 5 minutes, but no, yes, that would be. I would say accountability and also um just not having to think about shit as much. I
yeah,
think people get in their own way too much, from my experience at least, where they're trying to do too much often, right? Whether that's they're trying to, if it's nutrition, they're trying to eat too little than they actually need to be eating, right? They're like putting themselves in a severe deficit and it's hurting them more than it needs to be. So I'd say, yes, the two biggest things that you're going to get if you come work with me would be, like you said, accountability of like, hey, you're going to have someone hold your hand and guide you through this process step by step. And the second thing that would add on to that would be, you're not going to have to think about what it is. Like, I have proven results time and time again. We're going to get you where you want to go. You don't have to think about it. You just got to show up and do the work.
yeah, yeah. And they're going to get wisdom too. That's one of the things. I mean, you've been competing for 8 years. You've got a lot of experience.
Yeah, and competing's different though, than a lot of people don't want to compete. Half my athletes,
Well,
they don't
yeah, the
care.
point being you've been at that level and you had to
Right,
do something to get to that level.
right.
So you know how to get there. Um, Tell us how to find you again. I didn't have my pen out when you told me
You
earlier.
didn't when I had my blurb. No, I most people reach out to me just through Instagram, Daniel.Sterling 2533. Um, that's that's just the Instagram handle.
Okay.
Um,
Is that the easiest way? They can just message you, right?
yeah, just DM me. Just let me know. There's a consult link in the bio. If you want to click that, then it will send you right to a link tree. Um, and then you can go from there and it will fill out consult and I'll be in touch. I can
Are you
reach out to you
taking
that
on
way.
new folks? I know you've been pretty busy for a while.
Um, I yes, it's not like I don't have a lot of space though. There's probably about like 4 or 5 more spots that I'd like take on. I never say no because it just depends on the situation and it depends on the person. Because
Yeah.
everybody requires different needs and levels of attention, you know. That's why some people they'll ask me about price, and I'm just like, I can't give you a price like right now. I just got to know what your situation is. It's
Yeah.
gonna be different. It's gonna be different. If you need like, if you need someone to be there every day and like message you every day and hold like really, really, really hold your hand and be there, and you're like a competitive athlete that needs 4 hours of working out a day, that's gonna be very different than just a dad who's like, hey, I'm just trying to get better. I have like an hour a day to work out, and that's it. Like it's just
Yeah.
different needs.
Different
So
services. Yep.
yeah. So yes, I'm taking on people. There's not a ton of space. It just kind of depends on what that person's looking for and what they
Got
need.
it. Awesome. Thanks a ton, man. It was nice to get you cornered and ask you any question that I wanted to. So that was cool. Thanks for spending the time
Those are
with
the
us.
those are the best questions you could think of. There's nothing else that's like,
All right, dude. Here's to next year, right?
right, here's next year.
All right, man. Thanks a ton.
Of course, dude.
Thanks for hanging out on the Service Business Blueprint with me, Jeff Luther. Stay in the loop as we keep delivering these strategies to supercharge your service business. Hit subscribe, leave a review, be part of our growing community. Now you have someone to walk with you as we create your service business blueprint. Until next time, remember, where you focus is where your energy goes. Beliefs turn to things, so choose the good ones.